The snow wasn't empty. I've always loved the sound of falling snow. There's something about it, soft, quiet, almost sacred, like watching lightning strike in the distance or catching a shooting star out of the corner of your eye. It's rare, uncontrollable, and when it happens, it feels special. I'm not much of a hiker, but when it snows, I can't help myself. This happened on one of those nights. I live in a semi-wooded area in the northeastern United States. It's not deep wilderness, but dense enough that a few minutes of driving can put you at a forest that feels completely cut off from the world. That night was either a Friday or Saturday. I remember because I didn't have work the next day and was slightly hungover from going out the night before. The strange thing is, snow wasn't in the forecast. I checked the weather obsessively during winter, so I'm sure of that. I was sitting in my room reading when it started snowing out of nowhere. It was so sudden it felt unnatural, like someone flipped a switch. By the time I noticed, the ground was already covered. Without thinking, I knew exactly what I wanted to do: take a walk. I drove to a local hiking trail that's usually empty, especially at night. I stepped out of my car, stood there for a moment, watching the snow fall, and then started walking. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to go deeper into the woods, away from everything. After about 20 minutes, I stopped. That's when I heard it. A voice. It didn't belong there. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but then I heard it again, clear as day. A child's voice saying, "Hi." It doesn't sound scary written out, but in that moment, alone in the woods at night, it was terrifying. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. The sound echoed unnaturally, like it came from everywhere at once. I turned around quickly. No one was there. Then I heard it again. "Up here, silly." I looked up. There was a little boy sitting on a tree branch about 20 feet off the ground. He looked around 9 years old and was bundled up for the cold. What didn't make sense was how he got there. The tree was perfectly straight, with no low branches. The lowest branch was impossibly high. Seeing him oddly calmed me at first. At least now I knew where the voice was coming from. I walked closer, keeping my eyes locked on him. He was smiling, but not a normal smile. It was wide and stiff, like someone who hadn't learned how to smile properly. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were no footprints around the tree. None. That meant he'd been sitting there before it started snowing, at least 45 minutes earlier, and that still didn't explain how he climbed up. I asked him how he got there. He said, "That's a secret." Then he stood up on the branch and said, "Watch this." Before I could react, he leaned backward and fell 30 feet. I screamed. No amount of snow could have cushioned that fall. I ran toward where he landed, but before I could reach him, he jumped up like nothing had happened and sprinted into the woods, laughing. I stood there, frozen. Then, against all logic, I chased him. I followed his footprints, hearing his laughter echo through the trees. It sounded wrong, too loud, too close. As I passed a tree, something suddenly latched onto my back. I was slammed to the ground. The boy was on top of me, clawing at my neck and shoulders. I screamed as I felt blood running down my skin. He wailed like an animal, digging his nails into my flesh. With everything I had, I threw him off me. He hit the ground, stood up instantly, and ran deeper into the woods, still laughing. I didn't chase him again. The next thing I remember is being in an ambulance. At the hospital, police questioned me over and over. While I was being treated, they searched the woods. They found nothing. No child, no footprints, only mine. The empty snowplow. A few years later, during another massive snowstorm, something else happened. I was walking to a friend's house because the roads were completely impassable. Halfway there, I saw headlights ahead. A snowplow was coming down the road slowly until it suddenly veered off and crashed into the woods. I ran toward it. The truck was smashed into a tree. The engine was running. The headlights were on. But the driver's seat was empty. So was the passenger seat. There were no footprints leading away. I felt a sudden overwhelming need to leave. As I backed away, I heard a man's voice behind me yelling for help. It sounded impossibly close. I ran. When police arrived later, they told me something I'll never forget. They hadn't found any tire tracks on that road at all. According to them, no plow had ever been there. The man in the woods. The last incident happened during a blizzard when I was still in school. After getting off the train, I had to walk home through a wooded area. Visibility was low, but the snow reflected enough light to see ahead. That's when I noticed a man standing in my path. He was wearing a t-shirt and shorts in a blizzard. He was smiling, wide and twisted. Without warning, he screamed and charged at me. I ran for my life. Later that night, I heard something hit my bedroom window. When I pulled back the curtain, I saw him again, his skin purple from the cold, his face inches from the glass. My father saw him too. Then he vanished. The police never found him. Final thought. 3 different winters, 3 different encounters, all during snowstorms, all involving people who shouldn't have existed. Sometimes I wonder if it was all in my head, but that thought scares me even more, because if it wasn't real, then why do the woods feel so crowded when it snows?